Hey everyone, welcome to the Cedar Room podcast where we talk about life, family, a lot of business, and a little bit about everything else. I'm Dan Vanderkoy, husband to my stunning wife Erin, dad to our 3 wild kiddos, and owner of Mana Insurance Group. From running around playing games as a youth pastor to running an insurance company, I've experienced and learned a lot. We hope this is a place for you to come think, process, and challenge yourself to grow. Make sure you hit that subscribe button to stay connected as we talk through these ideas together. Hey everybody, Dan Vanderkoy here with the Cedar Room podcast with Mana Insurance Group, and I am sitting in my absolute favorite restaurant today. We call it my second office. Jake's Lynden with Brian Poag, the owner and founder of Jake's. Brian, thanks for being on today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm humbled to be here.
Yeah, so I wanted to just kind of jump right in a little bit. So you've been in the restaurant industry a long time, and the restaurant industry is not, I would say my perception, it's not an easy industry to always be in. How did you get into it? How did you get your start, your passion for food? Where's all that come from? Kind of where's your beginnings here?
Well, back in my college days, I was 19, and I was kind of my major was Nintendo, the original Nintendo, and drinking beer.
Okay.
So my parents said, "Hey, we're done paying for your college. You're coming home, and you're going to go to work." And so I got a job at a supermarket in town, and as I was doing that, there was a new restaurant opening up in the parking lot. It was Chi-Chi's Mexican restaurant.
Okay.
So back from the Midwest, a company there. But
yeah.
So I decided, hey, I'm going to go work over there. I hear servers make a lot of money. So
Yeah.
I went and applied and started doing it, and I really enjoyed it. I think the thing I enjoyed most was the service aspect, and taking care of guests, and meeting them, and the relationships, and having repeat business. And so there was something there, and so Chi-Chi's asked me to go into management with them, and I did, and I had an opportunity to work for a great manager in Columbus, Ohio, that really saw a lot in me and encouraged me, and was a big fan. And so the rest is kind of history. I always thought, you know what, I'm going to do this management thing for a little while, but by the time I'm 30, I'm out of this business. I'm going to do something else. I'm going to go to school or whatever. But so here I am, almost 50, and I still have not gotten out of it. It's just I just love people. You know, I love serving, and growing up in Tennessee, Southern hospitality. I was a yes ma'am, no ma'am, yes sir, no sir kind of guy.
My pleasure.
And, yeah, absolutely. and it's just ingrained in me, and this is such a great fit for that type of mentality, and we've tried to weave that into what we do here at Jake's. Southern hospitality is a big thing. So that's kind of what fueled it. It's not, I love food. I love great quality food. Yeah. But to me, it's more about service. It's more about what can we do to make an experience great or better than what people are accustomed to. So that's what we strive to do.
Well, and I'm kind of the same way. My wife always jokes that, with my job, I get to do a lot of lunch meetings, right? And so I end up spending a lot of money here and a couple other places around town. But it's one of those things when I walk in here, when you guys kind of, and we'll get into this a little later on, but when you guys reopened your doors, it was like, oh, my second home's back. My second office is back. Yeah. I remember there was a guy that did youth ministry for a long time, and Jim Hewlett in the community, and he always had this one little restaurant he'd do mentoring meetings with, and I feel like that's kind of like my little corner booth. It's just on the other side of that wall that I walk in, and your wife usually comes and says, do you want lemonade or Pepsi today, and do you want your wings, right? It's kind of that feeling at home, and you guys do a really good job of that.
Well, thank you very much.
So you guys, so you grew up in Tennessee.
Yep. Nashville.
You were in Nashville. So I went to Nashville for the first time this last September for a life insurance conference. What a fun city.
It is. Boy, it's changed a lot over the years too. When I was there, it was Boy, when I moved out here, it was 1998.
Okay.
And it is amazing how much it's grown and developed, and now it's just one of the hottest places to be.
Yeah.
You know, pro sports teams and
Yep.
celebrities and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's a different place.
And a little bit of country music there, just a little bit, right?
A little bit. I couldn't sing, so I left. So.
So you came out to Lynden, and where did that take you within the restaurant industry at that point in time?
You know, I started working at Homestead when I first moved here.
Okay.
And
Was that back when it was like Duffers? Or
yeah,
something? Was it
yeah,
Duffers? Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay.
So worked for the Weinstras, and we saw the clubhouse expansion through there, and you know, working for I had always worked for corporate restaurants.
Okay.
And so going to work for like a family-owned restaurant was really something that took a lot of getting used to, and I felt like, man, I can do this. You know,
Yeah.
I saw the Weinstras and how involved they were in it, and they were great to work for and great people, and have really done a lot in the community. And
Yeah.
but I saw that and saw, man, I think I can do this.
Yeah.
And so you know, I just started down the road of doing that, and kind of bit the bullet and became an entrepreneur. So
That's cool. So
Yeah.
so you did that, and you've started several restaurants now over time, haven't you?
yeah, 3 or 4 if you count the relaunch here at Jake's.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been an interesting process, and
Yeah.
all different, all
Yeah.
unique.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Would it be fair to say that barbecue food is your passion, or what you enjoy the most doing?
Yes. As a matter of fact, whenever we go, like when we were out of state, when we lived in California and Arizona, always on the lookout for the newest barbecue place or
Yeah.
a place that we hadn't tried to
Yeah.
just see different things.
Yeah.
It's been fun. Yeah, that part, that is a passion of
Yeah.
mine. So
That's cool. So when I was in Nashville, I got to ask this question then, because you know how much I enjoy like good brisket and good barbecue. Have you ever eaten at the Martin's Barbecue?
Martin's was not around.
It wasn't?
don't think when I was there, and if
Okay.
it was, I wasn't
Okay.
at that point in time
Yeah.
into that much.
It was good. It was actually really good. Actually, at one point in time, Kaylee was back there for another convention, and there's that Marco Polo app, and she sent a couple people of us, basically her eating a bunch of like ribs and stuff like that and rubbing it in her face. I'm like, whatever, I can just go to Jake's.
Yeah,
So
no
Jake's
kidding.
is just as good, if not better. So
Well, thank you.
Kaylee's laughing over in the corner right now. So was that embarrassing? So when did you open Jake's originally?
We opened in 2007,
Okay.
2008.
Okay.
Yeah.
And thought process behind that, doing something different.
Yeah,
Because you had done, was it the loft before that?
Yeah,
maybe?
we had the loft, and we
Okay.
sold the loft.
Okay.
And I just wanted to get, the loft was more of a kind of seemed like more of a fine dining.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, and so that wasn't the most comfortable thing for me to do.
Yeah.
And so I really wanted to get back to something that was a little more closely tied to my roots and a food or a genre that that I knew a little bit more about.
Yeah. And the loft was downtown Lynden on Front Street.
It was.
Which was wasn't that voted the #1 Front Street or Main Street in America a few years ago?
It was.
And that was before they had the fire
Yes.
in the Waples building, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
So did you sell that before the fire, or did the fire and then you were kind of done with it? What happened there?
We sold it before the fire.
Okay.
And so when that fire happened, man, it was kind of a grieving process for us too, because the the new owners of that business, they kind of changed things, and they were having some success. And we really wanted that. That was that business. We built a lot of business there, and so. We wanted them to be successful, so it was very unfortunate. But man, look at the turnaround that building has made now. The investment made in it, and it's really kind of revitalized that downtown area, I think.
Yeah, and it takes someone with a vision to do that, and some investors and stuff to come behind that. But I still remember I'd go there for lunch every once in a while, And it's kind of cool because you're kind of up elevated. You kind of look down on Front Street there, and across the street was the Dutch bakery there, and kind of a neat deal there. So
yeah, we could spy on a lot of people in Lynden.
I'm sure
at that location.
Okay, so you sell that restaurant. Do you open Jake's right away at that point?
Well, that was the game plan. I had a non-compete with another startup that I had. And so once that was done, I knew that I kind of wanted to maybe move to where there was a little more traffic. And, I wasn't sure if this was the right location, but I figured, you know what, if we do the things that I think we're capable of doing from a service standpoint, and I always, go for quality food. I don't, if we can offer that, I think people will find us, people will come regardless. And so, that's what we did. Yeah.
Cool. And so you opened Jake's.
Yep.
Tell me, when opening a restaurant, 'cause you've done it a few times now, maybe the hardest thing to do, the thing you enjoy the most about it. Start with those two.
Yeah. Well, each one has been different.
Okay.
Each one has had its own challenges. I kind of liken this relaunch of Jake's to what we did downtown, because we followed another business.
I see.
And so anytime you follow in someone else's business, there's always a challenge there. I mean, even for the folks that we sold Jake's to, hindsight being 2020, they probably should have maintained what we were doing for a while, or at least tried it. But I think maybe they tried to change a little bit too much right off the bat. When we went into downtown, into the loft, we changed, we didn't change too terribly much, and just kind of gradually worked our way into it.
Well, and they say that about coming into new positions of leadership too. Like my background is I worked in a church for 8-9 years, right?
Yeah.
And they say when you first come in, you don't want to just come in and make wholesale changes. You want to get to know the staff and the culture and the people.
Right.
And not just kind of be the new guy that comes in with your agenda and kind of bowls over everybody. Things that they might be comfortable with, but then, taking time and then starting to implement that in after maybe 6 months to a year, and just kind of slow changes, right?
Yeah, definitely.
That probably goes a long way. So
absolutely. When we opened Jake's the first time, things were great. I mean, we were all kinds of business. It was fantastic, but then the economy crashed, and that's that was a wake-up call.
People don't go out to eat when they have a choice between paying bills and
yeah, definitely. We lost 40% of our revenue in 1 month.
So it was almost market trend with what the market was doing, because the market was 35 to 40% down, and you saw almost that correlate then directly to your business then too.
Absolutely. Yeah. So there were some great learning lessons in all of that.
So tell me about the relaunch of Jake's then. Obviously that was in November, I believe.
Yeah, we opened back up in November.
Okay.
When we came back in, the decision to move back to Lynden from we were living in Arizona at the time was really family related. We were on an island down in Arizona, didn't know too many people, and we both had jobs that we really liked, but man, outside of that, it was just kind of lonely. And so having our youngest daughter,
you guys just miss me coming in every day, right?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I'm saying a bunch of stuff, but that's really the gist of it. No, our youngest daughter was starting high school, and we just kind of felt like, man, we want to give her the same opportunity our other kids had of growing up in this community. There's something special about Lynden. Both schools are fantastic. They have great teachers. They have great coaches, and the community is just really supportive. And we felt like our youngest daughter was missing out on that, so we wanted to move back. And when obviously Jake's was available and empty at the time, so I made contact with the landlords and said, hey, what would it look like if we came back in? And they were ecstatic that we were even thinking about it. So we kind of looked around at the space, and boy, what you would think would be an easy transition, kind of a no-brainer. Let's just open the doors and get back to business was not that, and so it presented some unique challenges as well. I got in here and pretty much just started demolishing everything. We ripped up all the flooring, the booths, lighting off the walls, everything, and just kind of started over.
So did you, with that whole relaunch of Jake's, I will say it's an awesome atmosphere in here.
Thank you.
It's a really cool vibe. I love this, the wood wall here with the windows up top and the like the loft door basically. Mm-hmm. Like I just think it's really cool. It's very welcoming. It's very inviting.
Thank you.
Did you do all this yourself?
I did a lot of the demo work.
Okay.
My wife did a lot of the, picking out of colors and kind of that sort of thing.
Our wives
the lighting.
Are similar in that way.
Yeah. I don't know how to do that stuff.
Right.
I could do the grunt work.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
And no, we had a contractor that kind of came in and had some ideas about the wood wall. Mike Veltheisen is a builder in town. He's a really good friend of mine, and he kind of opened our eyes to something like that. And I was, at first I was like, barnwood wall. I don't know, Mike. Come on. And so he put a couple of the boards up just to kind of give me a feel for it, and I was still kind of
you don't watch Chip and Joanna Gaines, do you?
Not
HGTV?
really.
No.
But my mother-in-law, who does watch that show, she came in one day to kind of check on the progress, and she saw the wood up on the wall and said, "Wow, that is really cool." And I was like, "Oh, really? You like that?" She was like, "Yeah, it gave me chills when I walked around the corner." So I was like, "Okay, barnwood wall."
Yeah, I guess we're doing it, right?
Yeah, no kidding. So Mike, go to town, buddy.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, but he did a great job on that.
Yeah,
and everything just kind of tied together. I know there's, it's simple. It's more simple than, but I think it says a lot too, and I appreciate your insight on that too. It's always good to hear that perspective.
Yeah, no, that's great. So coming back, you're kind of, I remember the windows kind of being blocked off and you're going to town in here and everything. Mm-hmm. And everyone's kind of like, hey, we're excited. There's the restaurants coming back, that sort of thing. Could you feel some of that anticipation from the community as you're head down, doing the grunt work, doing all that kind of things, getting prepped, I'm guessing hiring a whole new staff, figuring out how all this is going to work, because you very much work in the business, not just running the business from, I'll call it a management or a corporate level, but you're in it, you're working hard at it on a daily basis. But could you sense some of the anticipation and excitement around the community, or did you feel like, I just got to get this done, my head's here, I'm looking down, I'll worry about that stuff later? Yeah,
that's a great question. And looking back on it, I was really focused on the details of, demolition.
Yeah.
I got to get this painting done. Honey, we got to get these lights put up.
Yeah.
When is the flooring going to be done? That sort of stuff. And from that standpoint, I wasn't really too focused on the anticipation. People would stop by from time to time. Oh, we're really excited you're coming back. Heard you were coming back. And then, you see people, in the community.
Yeah.
Are you going to open Jake's back up? Yeah, we're thinking about it. Kind of being sheepish about that.
A little coy, just like, I don't want to necessarily fully commit yet till everything's done.
Yeah, absolutely. And it, really it wasn't until we launched a Facebook page, and I shared a post about on Facebook about us reopening, and when that came out, I think that thing got about 275 shares, and it just had a huge reach.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, wow, that's kind of a tough first Facebook page to go up against in the future. But it kind of hit me there. Okay, people are ready. People are excited, and it's been good.
Yeah. So now you're what, 4 months in or so?
Three.
Mm-hmm. How are things going?
Good.
Yeah.
I think the honeymoon period is over.
Yeah.
We've kind of reached that point where we're no longer all right, we got to get through today somehow, some way of all the business coming.
Yeah.
And it's been good. It exceeded our expectations in the beginning. And so now I'm at the point anyway of, all right, we need to start getting our systems in place. We need to fine tune what we do as an operation. We need to put procedures in place and really start costing everything out to make sure that we're viable heading into the future.
Is that something that you did at the Jake's before and the other restaurants as well? Were you like intentional about like operational costs and food costs and things like that? Or is that something that you've maybe learned over the years that I need to be more intentional about this?
Yeah, I think I've learned a little bit every time I've done this.
Okay.
In the first Jake's, I guess Jake's 1.0, we didn't really get to that point of doing all that stuff till we were about 5 or 6 years in.
Really?
We just kind of did our thing. And I think the more that I learned about business, the more I learned about, the more I read about leadership and that sort of thing. Boy, it's crazy not to.
Yeah.
And so we started building systems in probably in year 5 or 6 of Jake's first time around. And now we've already started 2-3 months in on this go around, because when we took back over this business, it's crazy. This place had booths and it had tables and it had all of that stuff. It had an office computer, but it had a POS system, but the office computer, everything was wiped off of the hard drive. It was like starting over, and the computer was basically useless. And so we had to start all over as well. And so I knew the sooner that we did that stuff, the better off we were going to be for the long run, because restaurants, they're a very thin profit business.
Yeah.
And any little hiccup or anything can really affect profitability. And at the end of the day, that's why you're in business. It's to be profitable, and so you can pay your team members and make a difference in the community.
And support your family. And like, absolutely. I always say, I don't know if you've ever read that book, Start With Why by Simon Sinek. Yeah. But like, he's like, why do we all go to work? We all go to work because we need to support our families, right? And so like understanding that's where, like you said, your team members and the people around you, like it'd be nice if we were all independently wealthy and we could just go, like for me, like I love going to Guatemala and just go do missions all the time and travel and do that kind of stuff. But we have to work. We have to support our families. We have to feed our kids. We have to, and you see, I think just from an outsider's perspective in the restaurant industry, you see a lot of people who think, oh, it'd be so much fun to own a restaurant. And then they try to start it, and like, it's just like, it's hard. I think it's hard to be successful in your industry. And so like, kudos to you. Because I think you guys do a phenomenal job.
Well, thank you.
So what about, when you think about, you said you've read a bunch of books and leadership.
Yep.
Is there a book that stands out to you that's like, this book has been like, just an absolute like cornerstone in my thought process as I've reopened Jake's now, and kind of going through, you had a brand built up, you sold it. I would say that it kind of slowly went down and they eventually went out of business, and then you coming back in and almost having to rebrand in a little bit way, I would think, right?
Yeah, definitely.
What was that process like? And was there like a leadership book or a marketing book or something like that stood out to you in that process and things that you took away from that? Yeah.
One of the best books that I've read, is The Toilet Paper Entrepreneur.
Okay. I've heard of it. I believe there's that, and then there's like some pumpkin book.
The Pumpkin Plan.
Yeah. And a friend of mine, I was in Guatemala and we were in a board meeting with Eagles Nest International, and there's a guy on our board, Daniel Bazin, he lives down in Burleson, Texas, and he kept bringing up the pumpkin plan. Yeah. And everyone kept saying the pumpkin patch,
right.
But it was it's kind of a funny thing. So I actually just ordered both of those books on Amazon this last week.
Yeah, I think you'll enjoy them.
Yeah,
it's great.
Share a little bit about it.
The Toilet Paper Entrepreneur, I read that at a time where we were beginning to put some of the systems in place that were really important to the first Jake's go around, and boy, it just the book itself just kind of, you hone in on what's unique about your business, what without anything else, what do you have to do? And so it was really that book was fantastic.
Kind of your non-negotiables.
Yeah,
like cutting out the fluff.
Absolutely.
Like this is like, we can always, and I find this with our industry too in insurance, is there's always busy work you can do.
Yeah.
But is that busy work creating profit for your company, right?
Right.
And like if you had to choose one thing to do to be successful, you got to find something that's it's going to bring profitability, right?
Right.
So
yeah, and without giving too much of the book away, it's the application of, without being too descriptive or whatever, but you're in the restroom and you got 3 sheets of toilet paper left, and you have to make do with that. And how do you do that in your business? And you start to identify what's the most important thing.
Yeah.
And what can you do without?
Yeah.
Prioritize.
We were at we went to the Global Leadership Summit with some members from our team this last fall, and Craig Gershell, who's kind of the host of it, and he's the pastor at Life Church. And one of the things that he used that kind of goes back to that, I feel, is like, says you got to bend the curve. Right. You got to basically make do with what you got, and how with what you have, how can you get creative and make it work, and make it work well. And a lot of times, to be honest, I think people just get lazy.
Yeah.
Right. And so a lot of profit margin goes out the back door because they're like, I don't really want to track costs, or I don't want to do this, or I don't want to do an ROI. And you start to do that and you're like, wow, there's a lot of money that could be made here if we were just a little more intentional. Right.
Well, a lot of times in small business, man, you've got so many things coming at you. And I think a lot of small business owners just get exhausted.
Yeah.
Tired. And it's like, golly,
what?
I'm doing everything and I'm not getting any help from anybody else. It's all on me. And so they stop, and they just
kind of mail it in a little bit.
Absolutely.
So, okay. So now you've relaunched Jake's. Have you found that maybe the importance of the people that you surround yourself with and maybe you bring in as team members and stuff like that, has that philosophy changed over the years at all?
Yeah, definitely. I think first go around in Jake's, I thought, I have to do everything. And that really, when I said you get business owners get exhausted, I speak from experience.
Yeah.
But, this time around, I don't know how it happened. I'll call it divine intervention. But we had the opportunity to hire Andy Wynn, who's
awesome.
He's incredible.
Yeah.
He worked as a executive chef at Drizzle in downtown. He worked for Chad and Julie Simmons at the Dutch Bakery. And right before we opened, Chad contacted me and said, "Hey, I can't. I've got to get rid of Andy, and would you be interested?" And at first I thought, I don't know Andy. So I did a little research and I met with him and I was like, okay, this guy's pretty good.
Yeah.
And he has come in, and we don't, Andy's a manager, but he's our kitchen manager. I call him our pit master.
Yeah.
He's a great guy, and he's got a lot of insight. He's very artistic. He's very driven.
Very driven.
Yeah. And he reminds me a lot of myself when I was his age. I can think back when I was 29, I was invincible. There wasn't anything I couldn't do in this business.
Yeah.
And he has that mentality. And so he's been great for us. It's freed me up to do a lot of other things. And you know what? He's taken our barbecue to another level, which is great for the business.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's all, at the end of the day, it's all about the business. It's all about the mission. And so he's been great.
Well, and with, you've been talking about your purpose and your mission, talking about wanting just to really serve people.
Yeah.
right? I think that's what it comes down to. And, I look at one of the greatest examples to me in life of servant, and that's where my belief system comes from within Christ, coming willing to come and serve and sacrifice himself on the cross and do all that. And you start to look at now, how as businesses, how can we model that? How can we make a difference in people's lives? Because people go through a lot of crap, don't they? And just being able to, when someone comes in, if they're having a bad day, for them to just feel welcome, right, and smile. And whether it's they walk into my office or they walk into your restaurant and they need some comfort food,
right.
People go through hard things, and so to use your business, just to the desire that you have to serve people, I think is so cool. So bringing in Andy, I agree, is phenomenal. I think one of the really cool things, and you talked about the importance of moving back to Lynden and the community for your daughter and your family and things like that. The fact that Chad and Julie were so intentional about finding a good home for Andy, and just not be like, hey, we can't do this anymore, or we're shifting our business model, whatever all that was. That's not my business, but but the fact that they came to you knowing his passion for barbecue and his drive. And I still think I remember seeing like a Facebook post or something like that with you and Tanya and Chad and Julie and Andy. And I think Andy even posting something as well. I just think that's so cool. I think that's like part of community, right? And just how there was a home, and now like he's thriving, working with you guys.
Definitely. Well, Chad and Julie, they're great people. We know them personally, not just, as business owners, but, we've been in a small group together with them before too. And so, they're just really good people. And, they kind of like us, they take an interest in their team. And, I think that's the one thing about successful small business owners. When you can do that, when you can get involved with your team, and, not closely involved, but when you can get involved well enough to know, hey, come alongside them if they're struggling, or encourage them when they're having a bad day, or whatever it might be, and just to kind of bring them in. And that's kind of our model here at Jake's as well. Our tagline is where guests are family and smiles are endless. And so we really believe that not only our external guests, our guests that come in and dine here, but our internal guests, which is our team. We really, they're part of our family. We take an interest in them. We and Chad and Julie do the same thing. And so it was kind of I think Andy has felt that. I think it was a weird 24 hours for Andy. I mean, it started out with, hey, Andy, we can't do this anymore with you. And hey, but I've got a lead. I'm gonna
let's go down the street a minute. Yeah,
exactly. And so it was really cool. Chad, Andy, and myself, we met at this table actually.
That's really cool.
And in the afternoon before we opened, and we just sat and talked I think we talked for about 2 hours. Cool. And it was good. It was good. It was a great experience. So and it's worked out.
So one of the things that you mentioned before, you kind of had your head down and you felt like you had to do it all. And now you have like people like Andy, and I'm sure you have other team members who kind of just take the ball and run with things. What has that done when you step back as an employer, hiring people and giving people some freedom and some creative space, right? I guess kind of a twofold question. One, what kind of joy or anxiety does that bring you, right? Maybe being hands off a little bit in certain things. And then two, what has that done for the business?
It's an interesting question. I think, of the other people, I think it'd be a big mistake for me not to mention my wife, Tanya. she has been so actively involved in the front of the house and doing things way out of her comfort zone.
Yeah.
It wasn't the most comfortable thing for her to do, to stand up in front of a group of servers and train them, or do orientation type things. That's not who she is.
Yeah.
She's more of a one-on-one and building relationship like that. But she has been more tremendously involved in this time around than the first time. And so she's totally written our policy and procedure book already, training manuals for servers and front desk. And man, she has done a phenomenal job. Not only that, but the decor in here and that sort of thing. So,
well, that's gotta be fun too, to be able to do it as a team, as a couple, and to each kind of have a sweet spot within the company that you get to work on, right?
Right. Yeah. I think that, and as far as what it's allowed for me in the business, it's really freed me up to concentrate on some of those things that I talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Like getting systems in place now and going forward with, hey, I'm learning about marketing.
Yeah.
I know Kaylee has been involved with Story Brand on your end, and learning a little bit about that, and because a lot of times small business owners, man, marketing is the one thing that they just don't have time for.
Well, you don't have time for it, and you pour money into it, and you're like, am I even getting a return?
Right.
Because it's all just kind of like, let's throw it to a wall and see if it sticks, instead of having a strategy and a plan and something you can track, and also just simplifying it, right? So often I think as business owners too, like I just think of like, we have something in our office that we go over with our sales staff a lot, is like, okay, you got your hub and now you got all your spokes that come off of it. And there's so many different products that we can sell, but like, can we simplify it?
Right.
Like we've just kind of realized that, listen, our job at Mana Insurance is to really kind of cut through everything, simplify the process, make it easy on a business owner or on a person, and just say, hey, this is what you really need.
Yep.
Right? All the extra stuff, like, you can be overinsured too. Like, and that's what we do on our end, and probably similar to you guys too, is just like, all right, this is what we're about. We're about serving, we're about feeling like a family, and good food, good people. Yep. And trying to get that message out, instead of saying, hey, we got this, and then you kind of throw it, and everyone's kind of like, whoa, what's going on here, right? They get overwhelmed by it.
Right.
So, okay, tell me a little bit more about, you've let go of maybe some things this time around. I think one of the things that gets overlooked a lot is self-care. And just like from a mental side of things, what are the things outside of the business that give you energy, that give you an opportunity to rest? Is it taking a nap on a Sunday afternoon? Is it right? I used to hate those as a kid. Now I'm just like, I can't even make it through a Seahawks game anymore. But is there something that gives you an energy? Like if you want to get away, or you and Tanya want to get away, what is it? What do you like to do just so your brain can kind of check out from work? Because like you said, as being self-employed in small business, you get so many things thrown at you. Yeah. What are those things that allow you to recharge so that you can not just show up at work and you, okay, I'm here, but you can excel when you're at work? Yeah,
I think for me personally, I like to work out. Okay. I don't get to do it, or I haven't done it since we opened the business with regularity, but I'm starting to get back into it, and man, I really notice just a difference in my thought, in my the way I go about the day, my energy level, and that sort of thing. And like I said earlier, I'm almost 50 years old, and so
are you a morning workout guy or a at night workout guy, or middle of the day?
Either one. Yeah. I was an early morning when we were in Arizona. It was early morning because I typically worked midday through nights. Okay. And so that worked well for me. Yeah. It takes now when I come to work here, I usually get here by 7 a.m. and so I typically, my body's not warmed up at 5 o'clock in the morning, so I'll have to put that off till the afternoon. But, whenever I can fit it in, is when I need to do it. But I love to read. I just got finished with a book, Extreme Ownership. Have you read that?
So I did it backwards. I read The Dichotomy of Leadership, which is a sequel to Extreme Ownership. Yep. I had done it on an audiobook this summer. Okay. We got a couple acres, so it was kind of my lawn mowing book. Okay. That I listened to. But I actually started Extreme Ownership on the way down to Guatemala when I went down to Guatemala a few weeks ago. Yeah. So I think I'm in chapter 4 or 5 right now, and just But
it's a good read, man.
I love those guys. Yeah. They got some good podcasts. That Jocko Willink is on Dave Ramsey's Entree Leadership podcast quite a bit. Okay. And they're phenomenal. Yeah. Phenomenal. Yeah. So
I find, reading books like that and trying to figure out, I'll read a chapter, I'll think about it, I'll put it down, and then I'll think, man, what would my business look like if I applied that principle in my business? And so I tend to get, growing up, I never really read too terribly much, just only what I had to do. And then I read the Cliff Notes really, because I just didn't like to read. I didn't comprehend things very well. So, but now that I'm older, I'm really interested in topics like that and applying them. So those give me energy. Those give me focus. Yeah. I love watching my kids in athletics and, just being a part of that. I've had the opportunity to coach, two to three of my kids, and that's just a fun thing for me to do. Coaching and coaching and business leadership, they're pretty much the same thing. You're trying to get the most out of everybody, right? And encourage them to be at their best. And so I love doing that.
Cool. Yeah. So you said you're almost 50.
Yeah, like 50.
So
good times.
15 years from now.
Yep.
Where do you see Jake's Lynden?
It's a great question. I'm really not sure. Okay. You start a business, at least I do, and I know how quickly business can change. I know how hard it is in the restaurant business, and so for me to sit here and say, you know what? I think we're going to have 8 Jakes, and we're going to be up and down the West Coast, and then we're going to get bought by some large conglomerate barbecue chain or something. I don't know. I've never really had aspirations.
If you get bought by a large chain, are you just going to take your smoker and go to a remote island somewhere and just I'm just going to smoke my own meat every day and I'm just going to sit back? And
I don't know. I mean, I think I'd spend a fair amount of time on the beach.
Yeah, there you go.
Relaxing. So the remote island with the warm beach, that sounds fun. Yeah. But I'm not really sure. I know that, what I would love to do is continue to grow the business, continue to build relationships, continue to put out quality product and get better. I want to see. You touched on a principle earlier. We were talking. We work for ourselves. We work to better our family, and I take that to my team members as well. I want them to work to better themselves. They're, when I have a server that's in a section here at the restaurant, that's your business. That's your own business. And what are you doing to build your business? Let me help you build your business. Because at the end of the day, if they win, I win.
Well, and they're building that relationship with those clients. If they're people like me, they're return clients. Yeah. My wife and I have always taken, you can ask Kaylee. I'm typically a pretty good tipper.
Yeah,
right?
That's what I hear.
But
that's word on the street.
But it's got to be good service.
Yeah.
And I can remember the worst dining experience I've ever had in my life. It wasn't here. It was in Oregon somewhere. But I remember that. Yeah. And it ruined our night. Yeah. It just absolutely ruined our night. And so we really take seriously. If someone comes and takes care of us, we're paying for that. Yeah. We're not just paying for the food. We're paying for the atmosphere, the convenience, for that. And like you said, that's an opportunity for them to take ownership of that area and to really build that out, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. If you have to say one thing that's been the key to relaunching Jake's, the success I would say that you had early on and the excitement around it. What do you think that is? Putting you on the spot a little bit. But.
Yeah, one thing. There's so many things. It's so hard for me to pick one thing, because in this industry especially, if you focus too much on food quality, then you lose. Maybe you're not as focused on service, or you're not as focused on marketing. I think it's just a combination of a lot of things, that make you really successful. But if there's one thing that we compete on that I think has made us successful, I think it's quality of product that we serve. We don't, a lot of places around us serve a 5-ounce burger. They're called 3-to-1 burgers, and we serve an 8-ounce burger. So when you get that burger, you're not looking for the meat. I mean, you can see it. It's huge. When you see the portions that we put on a plate, I mean, we're not skimpy about it. I mean, we charge a little bit more money probably than most places, but the quality of product that we use, the certified Angus beef brisket, and the certified Angus beef ground chuck brisket short rib burger that you just don't find anywhere else. People taste the difference. And I think oftentimes business owners, they get so focused in on the cost, and boy, if I shave 10 cents off of this item, then I'm going to make this much more money. And we tend to not focus too much on that. We don't focus on necessarily cutting costs or how can I get a cheaper product. We focus on our guests, and we focus on, hey, if I was going out to eat, what would I want in the product that I'm getting? And we want to make sure that we care about our guests. We want them coming back, and so we want to give them a fantastic product.
And not just in the taste too, but even in the quality of food that people are putting into their bodies, right? Like, I mean, absolutely. It goes all the way around, right? And so, and I even the other day I had lunch here with one of my assistant coaches, and we were having lunch, and I got the 2 meat combo plate or whatever. Because I knew that it would actually feed me and my boys for dinner that night too. I'm like, wait a minute, I get 2 big sausage links too.
Maybe we need to cut down our portion size a little bit. No, just kidding.
But it, it's one of those things. I mean, the quality is hands down. It's there. And I think that's what you guys do a really good job of. And so, all right, I'll give you a shameless plug here.
Shameless plug.
Okay, someone who's never come into Jake's before. They're listening to this podcast. For some reason, they don't trust my take on it, on being the best food in Whatcom County. What do you want them to experience when they come in?
Well, first of all, what you say is the truth, So I think people should listen to what you say. Yeah,
the truth will set you free.
And I've never been a kind of guy that says, "Oh, we have the best this and the best that," and because I kind of think talk is cheap. But I tell you, it's really hard. It's hard for me to pick that, because I know the testing that goes into our products. We make everything in house, and we before we put it on a menu. I mean, we don't just throw something on the menu and say, "Hey, this ought to be good." Like, we have a new item coming out here on our next menu, is shrimp and grits. Okay, what's more southern than grits? And so we're going to be offering cheesy grits as a side. What are
grits? Can you explain that to me? I've heard grits so many times.
It's like a cornmeal. A lot of people, if I say cream of wheat, you'll probably know roughly what it's like.
Okay.
But ours will be different than obviously cream of wheat. But it's a southern staple, and so to have something like that on the menu, we don't just put it out there. I mean, we've run it as a test, a feature item on the weekends here. We've tested it in the kitchen. We've tried it different ways. We've tried the execution of it. How can we pull it off in our normal operation? So before we just kind of put something out there, we've done a lot of testing.
Play around with it. You kind of see if it's going to fit.
Yeah, absolutely. And if it's not outstanding, if it doesn't, if we don't try it and we go, wow, Andy, that's really good. Or Tanya, this is fantastic. Have you ever tasted anything this good? If it doesn't pass that test, we don't put it on the menu.
Well, and I would say knowing your drive for barbecue and quality food, and knowing Andy as the other cook who has that exact same passion.
Yep.
And then obviously Tanya, who's working with the front of the house and the guests, she's going to hear about it if it's not, like, kind of that triangle of the three of you.
Right.
You guys are going to be probably a lot pickier than your customers on the quality that's coming out too.
We
just
are.
knowing your personalities.
Yeah.
Right. And your drive for excellence.
Yep.
And so I think that's a great thing, because I think a lot of businesses just kind of get stuck in a rut. And the fact that you're always trying to, what else can we kind of mix in?
Yeah.
And you want consistency in certain things, right? But being able to have, hey, we're going to run this for the next 3 months, or we're going to do this, or this might, if it takes off, maybe we make it permanent. But I think being willing to change and adapt is cool.
Yeah, it's been really neat. And that's been a cool thing for me too, is to kind of, as an entrepreneur, your favorite thing is probably coming up with new ideas.
Yeah, right.
Hey, what if we did this? What if we did that? I went to Andy a few weeks ago and I said, why don't we do hush puppies? And he was like, oh, I got the best hush puppy recipe. And I said, well, why aren't we doing them? Hush puppies, Southern. We got to do hush puppies. Yeah. So he whips out a recipe of hush puppies, and boom, there they are. It's like, wow, Andy, these are the best hush puppies I've ever had. So this is fantastic. Good job.
Yeah, so I'm in here like 3 weeks ago, whenever I think you guys were just first coming out with them. And I was sitting in my little booth, and I was by myself, and I was just doing some work. Do you ever feel like when you're at the office or like at work, like you can't get stuff done because people are coming and talking to you constantly? So this is my safe place, right?
Love that.
So I'm sitting there, I'm typing, I'm doing a bunch of stuff. Tanya comes up, she goes, "You want your lemonade and your wings?" I'm like, "Yep." And I think is it Kayla? Is she one of the servers? Maybe
Kayla. Yeah, Kayla.
And she's like, "Hey, would you like to try some hush puppies?" I'm like, "No, I'm good. I'm kind of that guy. I get in my lane and I stay in my lane. I know what I like."
Yeah.
And she kind of kept pushing me, knowing that like I come here all the time, right? So it wasn't like over the top, but so Tanya's like sitting in another booth, just kind of. I was the only one in the restaurant. It was the middle of the afternoon, and all of a sudden Kayla comes with my food and stuff, and then 5 minutes later she brings me like kind of like a half thing of hush puppies. And Tanya just turns around and she's like, "You just got to try them. I got to know your take." So I had one, and you got that little like bistro sauce with it.
Yeah. Spicy remoulade.
Oh, gosh, it was so good.
Good.
It was so good. Yeah. And I was like, my wife would be proud of me. I branched out and I tried something new. Yeah. And it was really good. And so then we had a team meeting here the other day with some of our executive team, and we had to get hush puppies.
Yeah.
So, but that's cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's probably fun for you to have someone to bounce like food ideas off of that spends time cooking and coming up with recipes and stuff too, huh?
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? And it says a lot about Andy too, is he does a lot of research.
Yeah.
The guy does his homework, man. It's been really impressive. The smoker that we have in the kitchen, he hadn't worked on a smoker like that one before. And so the amount of time that he's put in learning about the smoker, but experimenting and trying different, like the way that we do baby back ribs now is different than when we first started, even with First Jake's, or even when we relaunched here. Yeah. He has done, he just continues to experiment. And that's what's fun about barbecue, right? Yeah. You got a Traeger grill, and we talked about that a little bit. And when you just try different things, that's the fun thing about barbecue, is it's never perfect. No. You continue to try to make it perfect, but you'll never make it as perfect. You can always be just a little bit better. Yeah. And that's the cool part about food, and having somebody like Andy around. He's just he's a mad scientist back there that just kind of continues to come up with different ways of doing things. Yeah. Sometimes it's a little hard to keep up with him. Yeah. But
Well,
Man, he's doing great.
It's fun too, because like you said, it's always changing. There's always different things. My cousin worked as a sound engineer on Barbecue Pitmasters, that TV show for a while, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I was in, Ohio this weekend, or I went here this weekend," and he goes, some guy gave me some of his like secret sauce barbecue like sauce or whatever, and sent me home with a few bottles, and he goes, "Oh, it's just incredible." And I was like, "You probably gained a lot of weight, like filming those, right?"
Yeah.
But it's cool because it's always kind of evolving and trying different stuff, and it might be fun to have you and Andy on again sometime together and talk about some of that like experimentation and things like that. Where your guys' passion comes from.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Thanks so much for taking time to be on here today, and I'm excited to see where Jake's Lynden goes, and appreciate just what you guys do in the community and being a spot for families. This is our family's favorite restaurant. This is awesome. My kids love coming here. My boys absolutely, and Taya too. They love brisket, so it's just they come and they get the brisket sandwich every time, and they're getting older, and now they leave and they get the kids meal one, but it's completely gone now, and so they're like, we might have to start changing to the adult menu pretty soon. But thanks for all you do and for your investment in this community, and just being a cool place for people to come and feel at home. So
thank you. Well, and we really appreciate your support and the support of the community too. It's we're nothing without folks like you and in the community too, and so you're the reason that we do what we do. So.
Awesome. Thanks. Well, thanks everybody. Make sure you hit like and subscribe to this podcast, and make sure you come check out Brian and the team at Jake's Lynden here, just off the Guide Meridian, and we'll talk to you guys soon.